Hey friends, Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, and as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Joe Boo Sports Report, because without you guys, well, I'd probably have more time in the day because I wouldn't be making videos, but my life would definitely be a lot more boring. Well, this will piss off Texas-made 214, who's always saying that I'm out promoting my other channels of woodworking and cooking. So if you don't like him, buddy, go someplace else. But this is all about Joe Boo, the Dallas Cowboys, and wherever I am, I'm going to go ahead and do a video. But anyway, there's that front door that I was working on. Got it up in place, and I think it looks pretty good. This video is actually for AJ Vasquez. And AJ, thank you very much for sending me the clips from training camp last week. I appreciate it. As soon as I can get a chance and get enough time to go to the post office, your shot glass will be on the way. And also, Matthew, a guy who actually lives here in Waynesboro, thought I was actually a former Dallas Cowboy player in one of my autographs. So shout out to you, Matthew, that no, I'm not a former Dallas Cowboy player. I just met a few here and there. But sitting here on the front porch of the red brick house, a historic house that's 200 years old that I'm working on restoring, this is actually the perfect place for this video. AJ was saying, I don't know how old AJ is, but he wanted to know more about the Dallas Cowboy history. And I got to tell you, I've been around for most of it. I was born in 1965. I'm the same age as the Super Bowl, so for me, at least, I never forget how old I am. All I have to do is know what Super Bowl it is, and that's how old I am. But I grew up here in outside Washington, D.C., with my dad being a Dallas Cowboy fan, a die-hard one. And I remember sitting on the sofa with him, watching football and wanting to be like my dad. And the guys you see in the Hall of Fame, you know, the Bob Bullet Hayes, the Roger Staubach, you know, the Bob Lillies, Randy White, Jet Rowe Pugh's not in there, but the Ed Too Tall Joneses, these historic figures that you guys just see as old men. I got the privilege of watching them play. And football, you know, most of you guys are probably in your 20s, maybe 30-year-old, you know, like my son, who were just barely around when the Cowboys were good in the 90s. You guys have never really seen anything. You have to understand how big the Dallas Cowboys were back in the 70s and the 80s. And this is before the internet. Truly, they were America's team. But seeing those old guys that you guys are like, you know, who the heck are those? I remember them vividly. In fact, I remember the Cowboys' first Super Bowl, barely, because I was only about 5.5, 6 years old. But I remember them losing to the Colts. And how sad my dad was. See, the Dallas Cowboys were known back then as the great regular season team, but the ones that couldn't win the big one. You'll remember the famous Ice Bowl. Yeah, that was the NFC Championship game, and the Packers ended up beating the Cowboys on the last second play. And from that point on, it was known as the Vince Lombardi Trophy. But if that one play had changed differently, it might actually be the Tom Landry Trophy instead of the Vince Lombardi. We were that close to being in that first Super Bowl. But every year, the Cowboys were always good, but they just couldn't win the big ones. They got to the Super Bowl, they lost to the Colts. But then I remember the Dallas Cowboys going against the great Miami Dolphins. That first Super Bowl win, with that season of controversy of quarterbacks. See, Craig Morton was the Super Bowl quarterback for the Cowboys in that first Super Bowl. The veteran, the guy that you trusted. Roger Staubach was this unknown commodity who was a little bit different. He wasn't conventional. Believe it or not, Tom Landry couldn't decide on the quarterback, who he wanted to start. He literally shuttled in one game, play after play, Roger and Craig Morton, back and forth in the huddle. It was a disaster. You can't do that. It just doesn't work. There's no consistency. They were like two ships passing in the night. But eventually, He settled on Roger Staubach, and they beat the Miami Dolphins in the Super Bowl. What's interesting is Craig Morton left and went to Denver. And the Cowboys ended up winning that Super Bowl against Craig Morton. So in a way, you could say Craig Morton leaving was the reason why the Cowboys ended up winning another Super Bowl. In the same way as you can point out Herschel Walker trade made the Dallas Cowboys. Herschel Walker leaving made the Cowboys that much better. I like to look back at a lot of the history with the Cowboys because you can learn a lot about where you're going from where you've been in the past. And I look at this team that we have right now, similar to the 92 team that made it to the playoffs, didn't win, but was young, strong, up and coming. I don't know if they'll win a Super Bowl this year, but I guarantee in the next few years that this team is going to be a team to reckon with. So, watching Jerry Jones at the Hall of Fame, seeing all of these great players, the Larry Allens and Tony Dorsetts, the Emmitt Smiths, the Michael Irvings, the Deions, Troy Aikmans, Rayfield Wright, Randy White, Bob Lilly, Tex Stram, Tom Landry, Bob Bullet Hayes. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys literally are an embarrassment of riches. You think about all of those great players, all of those iconic games. You young people, you haven't seen anything. Go back and take a look at some of those old vintage games, the footage of it, and you'll see what I mean. Football has changed a hell of a lot, and I don't know if it's changed for the better. But yeah, I'm an old dude, aren't I? I'm Mark Holmes, an old dude who loves an old football team in front of an old ass house. Hope you guys are having a great Sunday. I'm getting ready to head back up the road, cook some dinner, try and relax the rest of the day. Got a double shift to work tomorrow and Tuesday, and then it's on to Oxnard. And I want to thank everybody, and I mean everybody who's on here supporting me, Joe Boo, and the channel. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. And I will see you guys soon.